I'm gonna showcase my build that I've played to level 100. Just a warning here, this is standard. So if you don't want to see a standard build, don't watch this. But this league, Calandra League, was so fucking terrible that I just did not play it. And I've been playing a lot in standard, and I've been min-maxing my gear for the past, I would say, month, 2 months. And I finally hit level 100, so I was thinking maybe I should do an overview. So it's not really a build guide, but I'm showing the gear I'm using and some tips and tricks and stuff like that, and items that I found to be really, really vital in playing this. So this is a Cycloner with Impale. We are not using Headhunter here now. So usually when I'm mapping, obviously I'm using Headhunter, and I'm gonna go over this, but I'm using Death Rush and Headhunter and stuff. So I'm not using that right now. He's gonna do this map. If you don't want to see the map, then just, click off. So this is not like super difficult map modes or anything like that. But just to showcase the clear speed and everything like that. Where's the last minion? Really? Wow. So Headhunter makes a big difference in mapping. Like, it's actually a noticeable difference for this type of build. And obviously because it's fucking Headhunter, right? But it is still like an absolutely insanely good item for mapping. I know people think that it's been nerfed, or like sort of indirectly nerfed, but I would say it actually been buffed, because the 60 seconds from the rare buffs is pretty insane, especially when you're doing like simulacrums and stuff. You pretty much become totally immortal. So it is a big difference when you are mapping. Wow, he's even... Damn, that is brutal. But yeah, as soon as I have all my flags up and stuff, I'm killing them really quickly. Anyway, I'm gonna go over the gear. I have to like speed this up, because otherwise I'm gonna talk way too long. So when I'm mapping, I'm using Headhunter. So you can't use Headhunter if you don't use... no, that's not this one. So I'm gonna change it like this. Brutality doesn't work anymore with Headhunter. So obviously I lose some of the impale damage and stuff, but it doesn't matter because we get so many buffs from Headhunter. But sometimes I actually remove this, and put in brutality just to do some extra damage sometimes, because I am doing a little bit less damage obviously when I'm not fully buffed up. But that's how you play Headhunter now when you're playing a brutality, because I didn't know that, basically. So when they changed the Headhunter, I didn't know that, because how it was before, it was just it did not convert. If you had brutality, it did not convert the elemental damage, so you just got like the movement buffs and stuff like that. They changed that now so that if you use brutality, it overrides, so you do like 0 damage if you use brutality. So that's just a heads up. Let's go over the gear first. So we're using staffs. Staffs are number 1 in terms of damage and clear. The reason for that is 2. One is we have the eventuality rod, which is insane. You get an extra endurance and power charge. Endurance is obviously really good because we get endurance from smashing strikes, and then we get power charges from our chest piece. So and we have an extra power charge here, so this is just scaling a lot of extra crit chance. Then the staff have one thing that is absolutely bonkers, which is shockwave. Shockwave is a multiplier, sort of, and the faster the cooldown rate is, the better, or the more damage you do. It also helps with the clear, and when you have like Headhunter buffs, it almost sometimes clear an entire screen, because it's just like it shocks waves out from your character. So shockwave is insane, of course. You want to get a level 21 shockwave, but since I have +2 to socket or support games here, it doesn't really matter for me. And I really like Divergent because we get cooldown recovery rate on the quality. Then the other gear is basically you have to have a minus mana cost. When you're playing leagues, you have a chest piece to have minus mana cost. And but since I'm playing standard, obviously I want to use an exploded chest, and this is the best exploded chest I have. So this is what I'm using. So in standard, these rings are, I don't know if they're that expensive anymore. Might be decently expensive. But you want one with at least -8, because that's what we have here. And then we want a vulnerability ring, preferably a steel ring, because we want to scale flat fizz. When I'm mapping regularly, I'm using a Death Rush now, because I don't really care that much about vulnerability when I'm just mapping, and when we have Headhunter buffs and stuff, it doesn't matter. So that makes us go even faster. We're using an Abyssus. When I was leveling my character, I did not use an Abyssus. I used a well-rolled rare helmet with nearby enemies take increased melee fizz and crit multiplier and stuff. But obviously, since we now are level 100, it doesn't matter. So I'm using an Abyssus because there's just absolutely the most amount of damage. It's a noticeable difference when I'm using Abyssus or not. It really is. This is obviously a pretty insane Abyssus. It's not legacy or anything, but the power charge with Cyclone attack speed is pretty cool. The best amulet, not even a competition, is Ashes of the Star. And the number 1 reason for Ashes being so insane is because we have Divergent Cyclone. Now, don't get fooled by this. It says Cyclone, but it is a Divergent, and it's like, I don't know, it's a visual bug. But what the quality does from the Divergent Cyclone is it gives you more movement speed. So when we put this in, we get 12% more movement speed. So that's a big difference, because otherwise the Cyclone is usually very slow on its own. But with this, and since we are scaling movement speed really hard with Arena Challenger, I'm going to go over this later with all of this stuff, we gain a massive amount of speed, or more speed at least. So especially when we're using Headhunter, you can gain an insane amount of speed, and you just fly across the map, which is really what you want when you're playing melee. You want to move fast, and we scale speed here. Now, if I have a couple of really good rare amulets in my stash because I'm playing on standard. Not mirror tier or anything, but they beat out this amulet in pure raw damage. But like as an overall, with movement speed, and also the fact that you have to calculate in, you get +1 to all your auras, is very, 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 very hard to beat in Ashes. You almost literally have to have a mirror tier rare amulet to beat this. But that's just my opinion. I think it's impossible to not play with Ashes now. The boots pretty much want to get an elevated onslaught and an elevated tailwind. Elusive is really nice, obviously, but the elevation on the onslaught is really, really, really sick. And then obviously with the tailwind being elevated, it just makes you go so much more faster. Rislata is it's a no-brainer. You have to use this when you're playing melee. There's no option really. Obviously Headhunter, but yeah, it's big difference in terms of the damage output. I have crazy good rare belts, and I still use my Rislata. So yeah. As I said before, the armor, this is the legacy item here, alongside this. How much does explode help? Quite a lot, I would say, especially some map mods. You don't have to worry about porcupines and stuff, and obviously you clear a little bit better, but it's not that insane. And I do play on another character without exploded chest, and it's no problem. I die. I have a little bit higher chance of dying, but the clear is still very good because shockwave is that good. So obviously when you're playing a league, you want the minus mana cost because you don't want to get that on the ring. But yeah, an item like this is probably pretty expensive now. This is probably the most expensive item I have here. The gloves, either you get an elevated Impale, which is Hunter, I think. Hunter Influence, elevated Impale. Or you get these type of gloves, which is giving you Rage. They're a little bit scuffed because I have not tried to get a better thing than global accuracy rating. But I really needed accuracy, so I had to get this. But Rage is an absolute number one. If you can get Rage, it just helps with the clear speed and the movement speed and all of that shit. So Rage is really, really good here. And that was pretty much the gear. The links is the Awaken, we want Awaken Brutality because we get crushed from that. We want Awaken Melee Fist because we get Intimidate. Then we went Infused Channeling, level 21 is pretty good here. And then Pulverize, level 21. In my opinion, because there are better, this staff here is 820 PDPS or some shit. But the +2 to Soccer support games is absolutely insane. I haven't gone in and calculated the massive difference. I think technically you probably do more damage with a 1000 plus staff. But the +2 to support games is crazy, especially on Shockwave and Infused Channeling, even on Brutality. It's a lot of more damage. So I sort of prefer, because I have better staffs than this. I would even say that this staff technically is probably better. This is a staff that you can get in leagues. This is the sort of end game super staff, which is probably a little more difficult now because of the divine exalt change. Because this took a lot of divines to get good before they changed it. So, but an item like this is really, really powerful. You want to get the double damage. The double damage is really helping here. But the +2 to Soccer support games is crazy good. It really is. In the helmet, we have faster attacks, Ancestral Warchief, which is Vol, Ancestral Warchief. We have Phantasmal Leap Slam, which again scales. They have nerfed Leap Slam, well, the attack speed of Leap Slam. But you see here, even without Blood Rage, we are jumping pretty quickly. So Phantasmal Leap Slam is something I recommend. And then we have multiple totems, so this is actually quite a lot of damage. And obviously we can do this. We have 4 totems down. Sometimes when we do burst damage. It's a really, really sick burst stuff, especially against like Ubers and stuff. I have done all Ubers in the game with this, not Deathless, of course, because we don't have any real defense on this character. When I'm mapping, I'm pretty much immortal, except to ground effects because of Headhunter. I do Maven Deathless, I do Shape obviously Deathless and all of those. But it's the Ubers that are really difficult, because we literally can't take some of the stuff, the damage that they do. But it is possible to do, just not Deathless. You have to remember that. But I think it's overall really hard to do Ubers as a melee characters and not die. So, I mean, you can get like mirror tier items, because I don't have really mirror tier items here, and you could probably do Deathless stuff. So we have Precision level 21, we have Enlighten level 4, we have Anomalous Herald Purity. Anomalous is pretty cool because we are getting a taunt on hit, which in Simulacrums is pretty sick, because they the bosses sometimes they use turn and they start attacking my minions, and I stand behind them and do damage. So that's actually really cool. Sometimes they can fuck you, but more often than not it's really been helping. We have Divergent Pride because we get that physical damage reduction. We have Purity of Elements because that gives us all avoidance, which is crazy good. I would say it's almost impossible to not play with Purity of Elements now. It's almost impossible. You have to play with it. There's no other option, really. Because especially when you're playing, you can get, obviously, you can get here, Cannot Be Frozen, and there's other mods that you can get. I even think there is one here. Yeah, shock, reduced shock effect and stuff. But I'm telling you, like when you're playing, like especially when you're doing harder content like Simulacrums and stuff, you will feel like the shock and the chaos and stuff, and the ignite is really bad too. The ignite is brutal. Let me just stand over here. So that's the links here. Here we have Life tab with Immortal Call, Castman Damage Taken, Anomalous, I don't know what the different, oh, it's Skill Effect Duration. And then we have an Anomalous Ice Golem. So the Anomalous Ice Golem gives us a little bit extra, because of the quality, we buff it, so we get a buff effect, so we get some extra crit chance and accuracy. Here we have Enhance with Blood Rage. Can't really get it higher because I don't have enough dexterity. And then we're using Divergent Dread Banner. The reason for using Divergent Dread Banner is because otherwise, if you use a normal Dread Banner, we have around 70% chance to impale. And I would say that if you're playing Impale, you would at least wants to have like 80 to 85%. So we have to use it. Then we're using a Divergent Vitality, which gives us some extra damage with the Enhance. So I highly recommend putting in like your Dread Banner in with the Enhance, because it helps tremendously. Now, if I had enough Impale chance, I would obviously use a normal Dread Banner, because it's crazy amount of damage to do that. Yeah, vulnerability here. That's pretty much it. The links. Go with the tree now. So the tree is, you want to travel up towards Blunt Trauma and then take all of this stuff over here. I would say this is obviously mandatory now because of they changed. There's no longer the amount of reservation in here. Counterweight obviously, and then with the cluster duels. So Overlord is the absolute only one that is mandatory. because it gives you fortify, and one of the reasons that staffs are better than any other melee weapon right now is that you get free fortify. Other than Overlord, you want to get Titanic Swing, Titanic Swing, Titanic Swing, and Titanic Swing, and Titanic Swing. You want to scale Titanic Swing, because that's how we are clearing. So if you want to get medium socket duels, then Titanic Swing is the absolute number one. Other than that, Towering Thread is obviously really, really powerful here. Watcher's Eye is the Impale Pride, which is not that expensive anymore. Then whatever mod you want to get. I like the Chaos Rest because I have Purity of Elements, obviously, so I'm at 0% Chaos Rest now, which is really good for me. It helps a lot with some of the Chaos damage dots and stuff. Then we are using just crit multi. We want 1 Corrupted Blood, otherwise you have to go down here and get Corrupted Blood. Arena Challenger is super expensive usually. I don't know how expensive it is now, but I would say without Arena Challenger, it's a noticeable difference in terms of scaling movement speed. Like, it's almost impossible to play Cyclone now, in my opinion, if you don't have Arena Challenger. It's that good. And that's the reason I'm also playing Slayer instead of Berserker, because of Arena Challenger. It just does so much. The difference is insane. Then we have Impossible Escape with the Impaler. This area here is crazy good, at least for now. Obviously, they're probably gonna change around the next patch or whatever. But right now, Bloodletting, because we have vulnerability. We get Brinkmanship, and then, all of these nodes there is just crazy, and you don't have to travel. It's just bananas, right? Then we have Lethal Pride, which is honestly, this is pretty much legacy now, because you can't really divine these anymore. But I have a triple double damage here. So that is obviously pretty much impossible to get, I would say, especially in a league. I personally don't like the idea of the Lethal Pride or any of the Timeless Duels, because how stupidly hard it is to get good ones. But when you do get a good one, it makes a massive difference. So yeah, it's pretty much mandatory. That's pretty much it. I think that went through everything. And then obviously here, Pantheon is Solaris, because we want movement speed. We get extra movement speed from this. And then I have this one, because I'm using Abyssus. If I don't use Abyssus, I'm using Solar Shakari. And that's pretty much it. I think it went through everything. If you have any questions, the Slayer one, Headsman, Brutal Fervor, and Impact. When we take Unwavering Stance, so we don't have to use this. Usually, I went to Endless Hunger, removed Headsman, and I used a pair of gloves that had Cooling Strike. That is an option, because it's really nice. You don't have to think about stun immunity, and you get some extra attack speed. But in the end, I think this setup is a lot better, and it's not really worth it to go here, in my opinion. You just have to get a flask. Oh, I don't have that now. Oh, I have it. You have to get a bleed immunity flask. You have to get that when you're playing now. Then obviously, this is legacy, but these flasks are still very, very, very good. And we use Alliance Roar, and we use movement speed. This is also legacy now. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed the overview of the build. I tried to go fast because otherwise it's going to be way too long. Have a nice one, brothers.